So that's when I really started saying to myself, are you treating your body properly for the long run?
Welcome to the Core Connections podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Erica Zeal, the creator of Nocta Fitness Membership Core Rehab Program, my pre- and postnatal exercise specialist instructor course. I'm a published author and a mom of 3. Throughout my 15 years in the fitness industry, I have found through research and personal experience the power that our deep core and fascia has on the body. This is your show to learn from me and others as I bring awareness to certain health topics so that you can improve your quality of life. And today's guest I'm very excited to have is Annie Tinker. She is one of our Nocta Fitness prenatal and postnatal exercise specialists. She's a core exercise specialist as well, plus a birth doula, and had her first baby this past November. She is a personal trainer before she got into prenatal training. She had noticed a lack of options when both of her sisters became pregnant. So that is what spurred her initial interest in becoming a prenatal exercise specialist. And I am super excited because Annie is just an amazing coach that we have on our team. So welcome, Annie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited that we're going to open up some conversation today for our listeners about over-exercising. So I know that's our big topic today because both you and I have experienced that and have some stories and tips and everything to share with everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
So Annie, why don't you go ahead and share with everybody when it was that you initially experienced your experience with over-exercising?
Right. So I was super athletic growing up. I was involved in cheerleading and track, and my family was very athletics oriented. And so I feel like when you are in a position like that and uneducated about the body and anatomy, fitness and nutrition, and you're just trying to achieve goals of, first place in the track meet or whatever, you can fall into the routine of pushing and pushing and pushing and then not replenishing. And so I fell really hard into that in high school and would just work out all the time and eat terrible, stay up late studying or like with my friends or whatever, late as in, my curfew, but still. It felt fine to me when I was, 17 years old. And then moving into college, I started to realize that there might be a little issue there because I was eating badly and then making sure I was burning exactly the amount of calories while I was working out. And so my mom actually noticed that there might be some downward sloping there.
Well, the counting of calories. And I think many of us have experienced that. And that's, when I was in college, was 15-ish, years ago that I began in the dietetics and exercise science program. And in dietetics, all we were taught was calories in, calories out at that time. We now know that's not the case, but that's what so many have been taught. And you see it in magazines, you see it in so many publications about, you've got to burn this many calories to burn that much fat and blah, blah, blah. But we didn't realize, and this is a big reason why I want Annie and I to talk about this today, is that it's not about counting calories. The body doesn't work that way, especially when we take into account that we're eating crappy food, which Annie, you mentioned, and I used to. I look back at, doing sports and stuff, your metabolism's higher and you kind of think you're eating healthy, but yet you're not. I look back and I was like, my freshman year of high school, I ate a fudge round all the time, those little Debbie fudge rounds. I was a freshman in high school. I didn't know any better, and you kind of get that little bit of freedom to start choosing your food, and so we need to teach that to our youth. But anyway, that's
totally. When I started driving, I would go to McDonald's every day after track practice.
And because it was
chicken. Yes, I did. And because it was chicken, I thought it was good protein. So I was like, I'm getting my protein after working out. No joke.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I know. So my mom actually noticed that something was a little body dysmorphic going on. And so I talked to a counselor about it. And that's really when my interest in nutrition and proper fitness, why the body does what it does, why you crave certain exercises and stuff like that. When I was out of college, getting married, obviously you want to look your best and all of this stuff. And I was armed with all of this information. So I started doing bikini competitions, which was great because I drive on goal oriented things. However, it was another kind of trigger for me because while I'm eating a ton of really great food, I'm consuming all of these great calories and all of these great nutrients. I was doing a ton of like fasted cardio and stuff like that. Still fairly naive in my knowledge of the body and how it works. But it was working for me at the time. So awesome. Then I come out of that and my metabolism is shot.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So,
yes.
Annie, can you share with everybody, like, give us an example of, like, what a day looked like for you when you were, and I know it changed, obviously, a little bit as you gear up and get closer towards, like, actual competition day and the dehydration and all of that. But can you share with everybody kind of what a day might have looked like for you with nutrition and exercise?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, my day was extremely regimented. Mind you, I did not have a child yet. So I would wake up around, 4 o'clock, have a couple clients, and then I would just drink coffee, and then I would do fasted cardio for 30 minutes. So running sprints on the treadmill or whatever on a completely empty stomach. So I'm starting my day off dehydrated, and I would have a measuring cup and a little scale in my gym bag. For if I went anywhere, like if I had my meals with me, I would just bring like a big container of broccoli, a big container of grilled chicken, and a big container of rice. And that was really all I ate. Minimal fats. And the only fats I would get in was like peanut butter in my protein shake after workouts. And then some before bed to help with muscle regeneration. And then I would work out for about 2 hours, broken down into arms day, core and back and legs and glutes. 2 hours just completely empty by the time I was done.
Was your 2 hours like mostly resistance training, or was it resistance and then more cardio, like high intensity sprinting and things like that?
Yeah, so it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
Like on leg days, it would be cardio and resistance. And then other like smaller muscle days, it would be all resistance.
I love that we're talking about this because I think of where I used to be and then now where we are now. And I'm like, oh, wow, that feels like a whole different world.
Oh my gosh, I know. And I don't know how I kept it up for so long. I mean, I did this for months and months and months. And then my meals were small. I ate like 6 meals a day to the ounce. I mean,
wow.
Big portioned out perfectly. And a lot of it was microwave food because
in plastic containers.
Yes, totally. I would make it on Sunday, put it in all this plastic Tupperware, and then microwave it throughout the week. So that by the time Friday rolled around, I was eating week-old microwave food.
And it's toxic, right? So if you don't understand, and I can be a little extreme in some things. Microwaving is one kind of pet peeve of mine, and there was 6 years or something we didn't even own a microwave. I did miss it for my rice packs when I'd have occasional cramps. But beyond that, we never needed a microwave. And then the house we have now has a microwave in it because it like fits above the stove. And I'm like, if I got rid of it, what do I put there? And then, so I don't use it. And occasionally my husband will be in a hurry to like warm something up for the kids. And I just look at him and I'm like, oh my God, it's like evil, like going into our food. We buy this good quality food and then we microwave it. And it's like, anyway, I know there can be some controversy on that, but I am anti-microwave now, especially with plastic containers because it can be leaching out into your food. So it's like if you go to all this hard work, and again, you didn't know that, and I didn't even realize it years and years ago. And if we think about we're getting this good quality food, and then we microwave it in a plastic container, and what's the plastic doing that's getting microwaved? And it's really decreasing the quality of the nutrients, the food, which sucks.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So that was part of it. And then, towards the end, it was no fat. I was like working on just getting as lean as humanly possible. And then towards the very end, on peak week, I was doing really waterlogging myself. And then the last 2 days, I would have no water at all and diuretics, pills.
So how did you feel? I have to ask you this.
Right. I mean, adrenaline-wise.
That's what you were running off of.
I was only running off adrenaline. Right. And granted, this was my first, second, and third competition ever. And so I'm sure and I didn't ask a ton of questions because I was like, I got this. So I'm
Right.
sure that there is ways that, seasoned professionals go about supplementing or whatever. But I was raw and new at it. And so, man, by the time I stepped off stage and the adrenaline had worn down that next day, I felt like an old raisin. Like, I felt so gross.
An old raisin.
Yes, I was
I
so
like that
dried out.
analogy.
I was so dried out. I had nothing, to the point where I wasn't even sleeping good for the couple days afterward because my body was just completely out of whack. I had deprived it of so many things and I had run it all the way down to,
No,
nothing.
I have another question. Did it stop your
Mhm.
cycles? Did it mess up
Oh,
your...
yeah.
Okay, because I don't think that it's talked about enough for women and over exercising and how it affects our hormones
Hmm.
from causing us to gain weight, causing us to like mess up our cycles because having a regular cycle, it tells your body, oh, it's pretty healthy. And not
Right.
having a regular cycle, unless of course you're on the pill or some other means, pharmaceutical wise, that you're stopping it, that it's an indication that something is off with your hormones. So,
Yeah. No, I didn't have a period for 2 full years.
whoa, that's a long
Yeah.
time.
I know. I didn't have a period for 2 years. And then like, one day woke up and I was like, wait a second. That's weird. I went to my doctor and, she told me all these things I could be missing out on. And everything came back when I sat down, kind of started food logging what I was eating, what I was putting into my body, plus the output. I go to a really great OB practice that is very natural friendly. And they started telling me just, use your common sense, which I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So, so that's when I really started kind of more practicing what I preached, incorporating avocados and healthy fats and all of this stuff, taking out a lot of the inflammatory foods, dairy and gluten and stuff like that. And this was a few years back as well. And then within a month, I'd say, my period was back. I was waking up
That's
feeling
fast.
great. Yeah,
That's great.
totally. Which, is good for me because it tells me I wasn't that far off.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I had kind of moved on. I checked that box. I'd done the competition, gotten myself a trophy, and I was done for a little while.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. But I was feeling good and I was ready to move on to, I'd done the fitness. I was ready to incorporate wellness into the routine. So that's when I really started saying to myself, are you treating your body properly for the long run?
Right.
And realized I wasn't.
I think that statement right there is something everybody needs to stop and think, like, what are you doing today that is from a wellness perspective? Because I've seen you and I both been in the thick of the fitness side of it. And I've seen, again, I'm not anti-fitness, but I'm definitely much more wellness. We need to all be thinking, what are we doing to our body today that's going to impact us? What are we going to feel like in 50 years? And I have seen and worked with too many people that find me in their 30s even, and they're in so much pain. And I'm like, you're only 30.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have that much
Yeah.
pain. And if you're in your 20s and having pain, that is a red flag that there's something off, whether it's food and or exercise. And I just see this vicious cycle with so many people of the over exercising, which is why I want to talk about it, because there are a lot of signs that your body will tell you that, hey, you need to back up on your exercise. And we get stuck in that rut of like calories in, calories out. Oh gosh, I had that piece of cake. I have to go work out this many hours or whatever it is to burn that cake. The body doesn't work that way. If you're eating a piece of cake that is loaded with gluten and full of toxins and lots of sugar and all of that, well, just to go burn those calories could just actually add more stress to the body. When we actually look at the quality of the food we're eating and decrease our exercise, if we are in that cycle of the over exercising, you can then actually see your weight drop off. I want to, with one of my stories of over exercising, probably the big peak for me was I also trained for competition. The one that I did, though, you actually had you had to look decent on stage, but you also had to do sprints with a weight belt, pulling a weight in the sand and stairs and pull-ups, like agility stuff. So you actually had to perform, which was a different level in the fact that you can't be so dehydrated because you couldn't perform. So for me, I was in kind of the same boat Annie was, where you're exercising 2+ hours a day. Plus I was working as a personal trainer full time. So I was teaching classes, boot camps. I was working out with clients, training clients like Annie, getting up at these ridiculous hours of the day. I would find myself napping during the middle of the day because you're just so exhausted. And then you'd go back to the gym and train and work out. And I actually, from the beginning of starting to train for this competition, I want to say it was like a 3-month period maybe of really like going big kind of for it. Because I just moved to California. And not too long I found out about this, and I was like, oh, this sounds great. I want to do it. Great way to meet people and all this. And so I was doing whatever 2+ hours of working out a day. So what does that tell your body? If you're exercising a lot, you're burning the candles at all hours of the day, all ends of the day, and you're eating a lot of food because your body has to eat so much food to keep up with so much exercise, that my body fat actually went up. So my body's hormones were all out of whack. And it was like, I have to store, my body was telling itself, like, you have to store everything you eat because this girl is crazy and working out all the time. So knowing that that's coming, right, the body goes into survival mode. So knowing that that was coming, my body was actually hanging on to my body fat because it needed it to then go basically like destroy my body the next day working out. And then I would eat. I was so hungry all the time. And it was just this vicious cycle that I got into. Like, I put on probably 10 pounds of muscle too, but I also put on a lot of fat. Fast forward, and I now, for me, realize that if I actually take my exercise a much more moderate and I focus on nutrition and I don't have to eat so much because I'm not exercising at such crazy intensities because my life doesn't demand that. And I'm also not training for competition. So nothing against competitions. I think that's great if that's something that works for you. I don't want anyone listening to think, oh, we're like anti-competitions.
Absolutely. And I had an amazing coach. There's amazing people out there who can do it successfully without running their bodies down. But I didn't ask questions. I just bared through. You know what I mean? So you're exactly right. Yeah, nothing against it. If it works for you, awesome.
Yeah, it was just, I think we were both naive in the initial stages. And again, I was being more in the fitness side of it and like, oh, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is how much, following a plan. Again, I was the same boat. I didn't ask enough questions. It really can mess with your hormones and your cortisol, whether you don't have enough or whether you have too much. And you get into this, your body gets into a stress cycle. And this is where, because I've seen so many women that I recognize, like, you're actually working out too much. And they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, no way, I'm not working out enough. You actually need to back off on your exercise. Let's just put a little bit more attention on our food, not destroy our bodies quite so much in the gym. I'm not saying don't work out, but like instead of working out 2 to 3 hours a day, how about we cut it down to like an hour a day? That's much more reasonable for the body. And all of a sudden you start to see the body actually function better because it starts to fall out of a stress state. If we are always in that fight or flight stress state, your body is like hanging on for dear life. And I see it a lot with young adults, and it's sad that it happens so young. So ask questions, listen to your body, learn more about the food and what you're eating and less about the calories, because the calories don't matter if we listen to our bodies.
Yeah. And even so, I'm still learning, obviously. I'm young. It's my first baby, this first big bodily change that I'm like, as far as hormones and postpartum and all of that stuff I'm seeing. So now I'm kind of working with macros and stuff to see what my body is lacking, which I think is a good tool if you can do it in a balanced way and not harp on it and become obsessive with it. But I think it all really boils down to listening to your body.
Absolutely.
And not ignoring the signs. Do you have chronic headaches? That's something. Do your joints constantly hurt? That's another thing. You know what I mean? Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you exhausted by 3 p.m. every single day? That's not just normal life. Those are signs that your body is telling you to do something differently.
Right. Okay, we need to, speaking of that, with the crash at like that 3-ish time of the day, because we've talked about this before, you and I, is with the adrenals and coffee. Okay, so you and I are both moms. My youngest is a little bit older now, so I'm out of the crazy sleep exhaustion, stage. But it's easy to fall into this, whether you're a mom or a parent or you're just a busy person, because most everybody is, right? It's easy to fall into that, wake up, have some coffee and get on with our day, and then you feel that crash midday and you got to have more coffee or some sort of caffeine to stimulate you, to keep you awake, and then maybe you need something at night to pull you back down to get you to sleep. So if that's you, know that that can be improved. I've been there. Annie, are you in that cycle right now of like any? Well, I drink coffee every morning still.
I'm definitely in it.
Are you drinking it midday? So
yes,
okay.
it's like quick scan. Like
Okay.
yeah, I can't. Yeah, but right. So since we did talk about this last time, and obviously knew I was ignoring my adrenals, just yelling at me. Like my skin is dry and like it's I'm like not paying attention to it, but I started diluting it a little bit more with some like water when I make it. So just it's the routine of it, I feel like, is a big part. And then I won't have one past like 4 p.m. because I try and go to bed at like 8 when I put the baby down, right, so that I can get up and start my day. Yeah, I'm working on it.
It is hard. So I'm gonna share one of my tips for, well, it's probably gonna be a couple tips for helping get out of that, because I've been there. A lot of the stuff that I share, I'm like, I've been there, done that. Right. Done it all the wrong way. So and I've always had adrenal issues in a sense. Mine tend to not run optimally. And so it's easy when we fall into the rut of drinking a lot of coffee. Coffee actually can suppress our adrenals. And if you don't understand what I say about adrenals, is adrenals actually run our thyroid. And a lot of people will have doctors address, oh, your thyroid function. Well, even more important than thyroid function is, what about your adrenals? So if we're not addressing adrenals, we can't properly address thyroid, right? We can't always just blame it on the thyroid. We have to look at the adrenals, and then we have to look at how much caffeine are we having, because coffee and the caffeine can suppress our adrenals even more. So if you're in that cycle of lots of coffee during the day, beginning of the day, middle of the day, I'm not anti-coffee by any means. I love my bulletproof coffee in the morning, but I am very proud of myself that I have gotten to a point where I have my coffee in the morning, and that is it. It is very, very rare now that I have a coffee midday. Like, I think maybe I've done it once a month in the last 6 months. Like, that's crazy. I used to drink, again, that midday, like, cup of coffee every day. And so now what I do is, well, I always have my adrenal supplement in the morning with a little thyroid supplement. It's not medication, so it's supplements. So just something to bring awareness to, discussing with your physician, with a naturopath, like research it more, because I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you exactly what you need to do for your body. But if these are sounding like this is your life, like these are things that you can do. And a lot of times if we just find a doctor that understands it, or a naturopath is always a great place to go. So by boosting up our adrenals with supplementation, slowly working to decrease our coffee. I'm not saying you have to like cut it out all at once. I think that's actually almost makes it harder, because the more you say you can't have something, the more we want it. So it's about keep your morning coffee in whatever you're doing. So I would start with the midday one. What can we do with that? Because that could be disrupting your sleep at night, even if you're drinking, like Annie, you said 4 o'clock. Right? That still can be too late. I know for me, if I have a cup of caffeinated coffee at 4 and I wanted to go to bed at 8, it wouldn't happen. I couldn't go to bed at 8 regardless, because I'm a night owl. But even a cup of coffee for me at 4, at midnight, I could go to bed and be like, I still have like the wheels spinning, and I'd be like, why can't I fall asleep? You know?
Right.
And then that cycle keeps going. So to stop that cycle, keep your cup of coffee in the morning. Fine. Look into potentially adding an adrenal supplement to help boost you up. And then midday, adding a little bit more of adrenal supplement in the midday. Adrenal, thyroid, things like that. But adrenals have to be addressed first. And then instead of having caffeinated coffee, switch to decaf. And then from there, maybe we go to a little like green tea, or maybe it's just that habit of having, I like to have tea. So I drink more tea now, but I will drink a decaffeinated, some sort of tea midday or later in the day if I need that warmth. Like I would maybe used to drink coffee, I'll drink the tea. And even having some green tea, know that it has caffeine, but it typically has about, I mean, it's going to vary, but typically they say it's about 20 to 25% of what a cup of coffee has. So again, a great way to get just a little caffeine, kind of keeping in the ritual. And I think that's for a lot of us, is keeping that ritual going. And then the chamomile tea at night. So those are kind of my hacks for helping with the adrenals and the caffeine. And So, and the bulletproof coffee helped. When I started that, are you doing the bulletproof coffee, Annie? Some?
Yes, I am, and I love it. And I actually just found the pre-made ones, the pre-made
Yes.
bulletproof.
You can get them at Whole Foods and you can get them online.
Yeah, I've been ordering them on Amazon. They're so great. I love them because on my way to the gym in the morning, I've been trying to go to the gym before the baby wakes up because I am not a night owl. I can go to bed at like 7 p.m. and then wake up at 4 and feel amazing.
That's awesome.
So it's great, but then I'm like so bored by the end of the morning because no one is awake with me. So I can just grab them and go. And that, I feel like when you kind of cut the ritual out of it, then it becomes a lot easier because then I'm not making coffee, I'm just grabbing one.
Mm-hmm.
And then like on the weekends when I have a little bit more time, no clients or anything like that, I can sit down and make some coffee and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like that has helped me a lot, replacing that ritual with something else.
Agreed, yeah.
Maybe like showering or something, which is rare when you
have a baby.
Right. Doing something else for yourself besides that. So that has really, really helped me. I love the bulletproof. And then again, like we were saying earlier, adding the fat in that early in the morning just sets me up for such a successful day. Even like cognitive connections, I feel like, are stronger when you give your body something to work off of.
Absolutely. And then you're less likely to fall into that cycle that we keep crashing into. And then to get back into with the over exercising is if you're in this cycle of too much caffeine, not enough water, not enough fat. So right off the way in the morning, this is why I like the bulletproof because it's got a good amount of fat in it. But having a big glass or two of water first thing in the morning because you need to rehydrate. Right? So important, especially if you're exercising a lot. Well, even regardless, you need a lot of water. But if we're in this cycle of lots of caffeine and we're over exercising the body and we're not nourishing ourselves correctly, that's where we start to get a lot of imbalances in hormones, and it's like your metabolism isn't working right. So from a weight perspective, to be at a healthier weight, we have to recheck into like, how is our body feeling when we're exercising? What's our nutrition look like? And we're not working towards perfection. It's about finding a good balance, listening to our body. Do we eat something and then we feel like crap and bloated? Maybe we shouldn't eat that food.
When I started breastfeeding, my baby was having some acid reflux, and so I did like a little elimination diet. My doctor didn't tell me to or anything. I just felt like it was a good time to do it because I didn't have a whole lot going on. And I'm not suggesting elimination diet for everyone, but it was just a really good time in my life to kind of examine what was going on with my body a little bit more. And when you start to incorporate some of those inflammatory foods back in and realizing how they really do affect your day-to-day, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then you think that you have to go work out for 2 hours because you feel bloated and you're like, man, I gained 5 pounds. No, you ate in a gigantic cream cheese bagel and you're not digesting it properly. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
that's a big part of it is our food supply is not amazing. And so then if we keep exercising a lot, then our body is just more stressed out and inflamed. And I challenge you to just pull back the reins a little bit on the intensity of your exercise, maybe duration if you're working out a lot. Most of us don't have 2 or 3 hours to work out, but to get out of that over exercising cycle, it's a mental game.
And like I see these people at the gym walking around with low back wraps and straps and icy hot packs, and they have chronic this, and this. And
they're not very old.
No, they're like 30-year-olds just lifting super heavy weights. But like if you scale back and kind of look at it from an outsider's perspective, is that color from nature? Do you think something like that is going to make you feel better or worse? Take a couple days out of the gym and work on some core rehab or some connective tissue therapy or whatever, get a massage or A-stem, and see if that doesn't improve your workouts on your on days.
And if we're in that fight or flight all the time, just so everybody realizes this, it is like stress is good for the body to a point, but you need to have off times. And if we never have off times or we're not always in that fight or flight, like wanting to just feel super stressed and anxious all the time, then that in time really, really can build up and lead to an unhealthy body. So listen to your body and recognize where you're at today and see if there isn't something you can adjust to just improve your overall wellness. just because we're both moms, let's talk about this really briefly before we wrap up, is if you are in that postpartum, and I say postpartum, right? Once you've had a baby, you're always postpartum. But if you're in that early postpartum, you've got a baby or you've got toddlers or even kids that are keeping you up at night, your body can be very depleted after having babies. So for those of you women that are in the thick of sleep deprivation and you've got a baby and you've got a couple other ones at home and you're running all over the place, you have to be even more aware to not over exercise. Because yes, you might want to lose the baby weight, but it can actually work against you even more so because your body is so demanded of nursing, of taking care of a baby, of taking care of another toddler, of all those things. So keep that in mind when it comes to exercise. And again, I'm not anti-exercise. I'm just like, listen to your body a little bit every day, which is why I created Core Rehab, because it works so well. It a little bit can really go a long way to amazing results versus having to like go super hard for a long period of time and burn calories and all of that. That's overrated. So I have a question. I want you to share the first 3 like healthy hacks that come to mind. They can have to do with what we talked about today or not. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so my absolute favorite one that I tell everyone is turmeric spice in your water, latte, whatever. It works so well for me at least, and you know, for the most part, everyone that I've shared this with on just making your joints feel better, lessen circulation, improve, all of that good stuff. So just adding that thing to water.
How much do you add? Can I ask you, like, do you just sprinkle a little bit in or do you measure it out?
I typically do like 1/4 tablespoon.
Oh, so not very much. And you notice a big difference?
No, I notice a huge difference.
Awesome.
Now, I will say if you are breastfeeding, that to be super careful with it, build up your tolerance to it because it will affect, for some people, milk supply. And then my second one, this is more of kind of a wellness one. I really like, there's like a few essential oils that I use for bath time and diffusing them. One is this like Thieves or On Guard. I diffuse that one like in the room after the gym or whatever, just because I feel like everyone is so sick right now. It like is freaking me out. So that I use that one. I have been loving lavender, and I like put some in my lotion before bed. I've been loving that one. And then just to like energize me during the day so that I don't give in to that coffee is like some lemon or eucalyptus or something. I just like put it under my nose and go on. Or peppermint.
I love
this
peppermint.
thing actually.
Yeah. Do you use the
no
rollers?
one else can see it, but yes, I do. I'm showing Erica right now, but y'all can't see it.
Oh
but
yeah,
I can.
plant therapy.
We can put it in the show notes, but
For
it's
sure.
this like little bullet thing, and you put it on cotton, and I put peppermint oil, and you just like put it under your nose, and it gives you like 10-second little bursts of energy.
The peppermint is amazing. I love that one too. And I give it to my kids. Sometimes like I just have a roller and we put it like on the wrist and just like gives you that little boost of like, whoa, I'm alive. Like, I don't know.
Right? And then my third one, you know, lately has been going on walks outside to kind of decompress. Like I said, I have a 3-month-old and a husband and a dog and a job and stress of life in general. And that has been just my, you know, going to the gym is wonderful. Again, but then I start to think, what did that guy clean his mat? And like, I start to get in my head a little bit about it, just about like the germs and stuff. And then it's the whole finding someone to watch the baby and get them to the gym and whatever. So it's a lot, and that's just for me, but it's just a lot. So I've been loving just going on long walks lately. So whatever that means for you, whether it's jogging, bike riding, or sitting outside with a book or magazine or whatever, just getting off your phone, putting your feet up or going on a walk and being outside in the fresh air has been like my saving grace the past few weeks, just de-stressing and decompressing a little bit.
I love that. Thank you, Annie. I couldn't agree more with getting out in nature. I think that's such great advice. So when the weather's good, get outside.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Annie, for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I would love it if you would go and leave me a review on iTunes and share with a friend so that we can keep spreading this amazing information. For more information on today's podcast and for information on my programs, check out ericazeal.com. See you soon.